Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with a new chapter of grade 8 science NCERT textbook, that is combustion and flames. And students, this chapter will be in two parts, and this one is the first part of your chapter number 6. Students, as you all know that in our everyday life, we use different kinds of fuels for various purposes at home, in industry, and for running automobiles. Now students, if I asked you to prepare a list of all the fuels that we basically used in our homes or fuels that we generally use for running automobiles, then I'm damn sure that your list will contain fuels like cow dung, wood, coal, charcoal, petrol, diesel, CNG, etc. Students, as you all know that people generally use wood, cow dung cake, crop residues, kerosene oil, coke or LPG to cook food, and for running vehicles we generally use petrol or diesel oil. And similarly, in the same way, in factories we can use coal or fuel oil or natural gas. Students, the materials such as wood, coke, LPG, petrol, diesel, natural gas have one property in common, and that is they all produce heat on burning, which is then put into different uses. Furthermore, some materials on burning produces flame and some do not. For example, like a candle or coal gas on burning produces a flame, but not the coal or charcoal. So students, in this chapter you will learn some amazing facts related to combustion and flame. So let's study the chemical process of burning and the types of flame produced during this process. So let's start. Students, before moving towards the chapter, it is necessary for all of you to understand that what is combustion. Students, combustion is a kind of chemical process in which a substance, when comes in contact with air or react with oxygen, then it gives off heat and sometimes light as well. Like magnesium ribbon. If you remember, in your previous class we did an experiment with magnesium ribbon. Students, magnesium ribbon catches fire and burns with a dazzling white flame when heated in air. Similarly, the charcoal and coal burns in air, producing carbon dioxide, heat and light. And students, in this process, air or oxygen, which helps in burning, is called the supporter of combustion, and the chemical reaction which take place with the release of heat and light energy is called combustion. And students, the substances which undergo combustion are called combustible substances. Now students, here is a question that what are inflammable substances? Students, inflammable substances are those substances which have very low ignition temperature and they catch fire very easily, and students, even they burn with a flame like petrol and LPG. Students, ignition temperature means the minimum temperature of a substance to which it must be heated before it catches fire. For example, kerosene oil and wood do not catch fire on their own at room temperature, but if both are heated a little, then kerosene oil will catch fire easily in comparison of wood. This shows that ignition temperature of kerosene oil is lower than that of wood, or we can say that kerosene is more inflammable as compared to wood. Students, now can you answer me that can we consider food as a fuel for our body, or why do we say that food is fuel for our body? Students, if you remember, in your previous class we already learned about the digestion system and also about the nutrient, where we discussed and learned that food is work as a fuel for our body because it contains all the nutrient necessary for our living or for our survival, and the nutrients that is basically present on our food gives us energy to work, and thus we live a happy life. And students, when we eat our food, it gets broken down into simpler substances which react with oxygen and generate heat, or we can say energy. And that's why food is referred as fuel for our body. Students, as we already learned that combustion is a chemical process in which a combustible substance, when react with oxygen, then it gives off heat as well as light. So now it is necessary for all of you to understand that what are the conditions that are basically necessary for the combustion to take place. So let's discuss the necessary conditions that are necessary for this chemical process. As the first one is fuel. Students, the first and the foremost necessary condition for the combustion to take place is fuel. Students, this process means combustion only take place when there is a fuel which produces heat and light when it catches fire, like petrol and diesel. Now the next necessary condition for the combustion is air. Students, have you ever imagined a candle keeps burning when it is in open air, but as soon as when we cover it with a glass or a jar, then it only burns until the oxygen inside it is consumed. But once the oxygen inside the glass or a jar is exhausted, then the flame of the candle flickers off. This proves that combustion requires air, or we can say that air is the supporter of combustion. Now the next necessary condition for the combustion is heat. Students, as we discussed that every substance has its own ignition temperature, and for a substance to catch fire, it is necessary for that substance to reach its ignition temperature. And students, for a substance to reach its ignition temperature, heat is necessary, and heat is the only one that can help a particular substance to reach its ignition temperature. So students, these are the three necessary conditions for the combustion to take place. Now students, as we already learned and discussed that ignition temperature is the lowest temperature of any substance at which it catches fire or starts burning. Now students, here is a table that will help you to understand this term ignition temperature more clearly. As you can see here are two columns. The first one is for materials and the second one is for ignition temperature. Now in the first column, the name of some materials are given here, and in the second column their ignition temperatures are given. Students, as you can see here, the first one is white phosphorus and its ignition temperature is 35 degrees Celsius. Means as soon as white phosphorus gets this much temperature, means 35 degrees Celsius, then it will start catches fire or starts burning. In the same way, petrol will start burning or catch fire until it gets the temperature 246 degrees Celsius. Means for petrol to catch fire or start burning, it is necessary that the temperature reaches up to 246 degrees Celsius. In the same way, for kerosene 220 degrees Celsius, diesel 210, wood 300, coal 454 degrees Celsius, a piece of paper 233 degrees Celsius. Means these ignition temperature of all those substance indicate that they will not catches fire or starts burning until they reach their ignition temperature. But if once they get their ignition temperature, then they start catches fire or burning. Now students, let's discuss the different types of combustion. As the first one is rapid combustion. Students, this rapid combustion it generally take place when a substance bursts in a short span of time, or the combustion of the substance is almost complete and a large amount of heat and light is produced. For example, LPG in a gas stove. The second type of combustion is spontaneous combustion. Students, in this type of combustion, a substance catches fire as soon as its temperature reaches the ignition temperature. For example, white phosphorus catches fire at room temperature of 35 degree Celsius and above without being introduced to any source of heat. And students, in fact, this spontaneous combustion also take place in coal mines, where coal dust often causes accidental fires. And similarly, the heat from the sun or lighting may also cause spontaneous fires naturally. Now, the third type of combustion is explosion. Students, it is a type of combustion reaction that takes place suddenly with the evolution of heat, light and sound. And during explosion, a large amount of gas is evolved which gets liberated suddenly. A very familiar example, a cracker or the fireworks that you basically use during Diwali, ignited, then it suddenly react and burst. Now students, the question is that how do we control fire? Students, as we already learned and discussed about the necessary conditions for the combustion to take place. So, keeping these points in our mind, we can control the fire by one or the following. As the first thing that will help you to control fire is by removing the fuel, because it is the foremost thing of a fire to take place. The next one, cutting off air supply or oxygen supply. Students, as we already learned and discussed that air is the supporter of combustion, means combustion take place only in the presence of air or oxygen. So in that condition, in order to control fire, if we cut off the supply of air or oxygen, then the fire will automatically shut off. The next one, cutting off heat or lowering the temperature of the fuel. Students, the third thing that can help us to control fire is just by lowering the temperature of the fuel, and we can do this by the help of water. And students, that's how by applying any one of the method we can control fire easily. Now students, as you can see here is a question that how do fire extinguishers work? Students, before moving on towards the working of fire extinguisher, first of all, it is necessary for all of you to know that what is fire extinguisher. Students, a fire extinguisher is a device generally which can be used to control fire, and this fire extinguisher can help to remove the fire and may stop it from burning, and it may either cut off the air supply to fire or cool off the fuel, means below its ignition temperature. Now students, there are three main types of fire extinguisher. The first one is dry powder fire extinguisher. Students, this kind of fire extinguisher contain a mixture of baking soda, means sodium bicarbonate, and sand. And students, when we throw this mixture over the fire, then the baking soda decomposes by its heat and then it produces carbon dioxide. And students, being heavier in nature, this carbon dioxide makes an envelope over the burning flame, and that's how cuts off the contact of fire with air. And as we already discussed that air is a supporter of combustion. So when carbon dioxide do so, then the fire stop burning. And students, in this whole process, the reaction that basically occurred is 2NaHCO3. This is your sodium bicarbonate, and when it react, then it forms Na2CO3 plus water plus CO2. Now students, the next kind of fire extinguisher is soda acid fire extinguisher. Students, this fire extinguisher is a metallic cylinder, as you can see here in this figure. And this soda acid fire extinguisher contains sodium bicarbonate, means NaHCO3 solution, and at the bottom of this cylinder the concentrated sulfuric acid, means H2SO4, is generally placed in a thin sealed glass tube, and just around this glass tube a fixed wire gauge surround it, as you can see here in this image. This one is the sealed thin glass tube containing sulfuric acid, and this one is the wire gauge cage. Now students, below the tube there is a plunger, as you can see here, this one. And students, on the top of the cylinder there is a nozzle that is sealed with wax. And students, when this plunger, this one here, hit against the ground, then its sharp end, this one, breaks the thin glass containing the sulfuric acid. And students, when this sulfuric acid react with sodium bicarbonate, then it produces carbon dioxide gas. Then after this CO2, means carbon dioxide, forces the wax seal open and rushes out of the nozzle to put out the fire in the direction where the nozzle is basically pointed. And that's how your soda fire extinguisher work. Now students, the next type of fire extinguisher is foam type fire extinguisher. Students, like your soda acid fire extinguisher, this fire extinguisher also uses sodium bicarbonate solution. But in this kind of fire extinguisher, a substance called saponin or turkey red oil is also added to the solution to produce foam along with the gas from the nozzle. And students, as you all know that foam is lighter than oil, so foam floats on the surface of the oil, and that's how cuts off the supply of air to fire. And students, this kind of fire extinguisher is very effective in putting out oil fires. So students, these are the different kind of fire extinguishers that we generally use in case of accidental fires. Students, as we learn different types of fire extinguisher and how to use them in case of fire, or how we can use them in order to control fire. But students, sometimes we also use water to extinguish fire, because water helps to lowering the ignition temperature of the fuel. But students, it is necessary for all of you to understand that when should we use or not use water to extinguish fire. Students, when wood, paper and clothes are on fire, then in that cases we can simply use water to extinguish them, because water lowers the temperature of burning material below its ignition temperature, and thus the fire stops burning. But students, we shouldn't use water in case of fire due to electrical equipment. As you all know that water is a good conductor of electricity, and it may conduct electricity and give a shock to people doing so. Students, similarly, water shouldn't be used when oil or petrol catches fire, because water is heavier than oil and petrol, and that's why it sinks down, while oil and petrol, being lighter in nature, keep floating on the top and keep burning. That's why we shouldn't use water in case of fire due to electrical equipment or due to oil and petrol. Now students, the next question is, what should we do when electrical equipment or inflammable materials like petrol catch fire? Students, in such cases where electrical equipments or inflammable materials like petrol catch fire, carbon dioxide is the best fire extinguisher. As we discussed earlier, that carbon dioxide, being heavier in nature as compared to oxygen, forms an envelope over oxygen and thus cut off the supply of oxygen, because oxygen is a supporter of combustion. So students, in the cases of electrical equipments, we can use the blanket to cover the burning material, because blanket helps to cut off the supply of oxygen, and even it also means CO2 doesn't harm the electrical equipment. Or students, we can also use the fire extinguishing cylinder, because in them CO2 can be stored as a liquid. So when CO2 is released, then it immediately expands, cools down and forms an envelope over the fire by bringing down the temperature of the fuel. And students, in fact, we can also pour dry chemicals like sodium bicarbonate, means baking soda, or potassium carbonate on the fire, because they both release carbon dioxide near a fire, and that's how they can help us to control the fire. Now students, with this topic here, the first part of your chapter number 6 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with the second part of this chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.